It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
I'm AP Stidham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP As We See It, a weekly syndicated show discussing the Southeastern Conference, always keeping an eye on the national college football scene and other sports. Welcome to another edition of AP As We See It. We'd like to direct our audience to all our social media platforms to subscribe, our YouTube channel at AP As We See It, and my personal one at AP Stedham as well. And we're on the Facebook, the Instagram, the X accounts, and also on Spotify. All our episodes are archived on our YouTube channel, AP As We See It, and also Spotify, the audio portion. And then you could check your local radio listings. We're on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays in areas around the state and region. So check out and subscribe to all our social media platforms at AP As We See It and at AP Stedham as well. We'd like to mention our guest this week, a friend of the show, Zach Barnett. He's the national columnist for Football Scoop, and we're going to discuss the famous and infamous coaching carousel and how he feels about teams around the country and some quarterbacks in the SEC and the SEC teams. So that's going to be part of our discussion in segment 2. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the Gulf Coast and beyond. For 109 years. Remember, Lucy's Famous Recipes are available online, and you could buy her book at the store as well, and also online. Remember, family, friends, and football is a winning tradition at Greer's. You can score big savings at Greer's by buying the fresh meats, the produce, and more for your game day spreads. If you can't be there in person to buy all the items, you can go to Groceries to Go, which will deliver to your home, your office, the venue of your choice. And remember, Apples for Students, you can enroll your school to be eligible for free supplies, and that's still available at all the Greer's locations. And remember, they have the coloring contest for the children. You can check the weekly online ads for the specials. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We'd also like to make mention of Robertsdale Dental Care, 251-947-3636. Dr. Jason Northcutt. Not only are basic services offered by Dr. Jason Northcutt, he has developed a niche within the practice, providing comprehensive dental implant services such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Jason Northcutt has been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems. Come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff. Dial 251-947-3636. We'd also like to make mention of our favorite hotel in Atlanta, the Cortland Grand Hotel. They have the beautiful rooms, very spacious, the indoor pool with the serene tropical setting right in the downtown heart of Atlanta. There's restaurants and gift shops on location at the Cortland Grand Hotel. There's outstanding breakfast on the weekends. They cook to serve, cook to order, and they have buffets during the week as well for the breakfast. Ben Giacomo and his staff, they're tremendous with their hospitality. So call the Cortland Grand Hotel downtown Atlanta. So we'd like to thank those 3 sponsors. And remember, if you patronize them, just make mention of our show. They certainly would appreciate it. But now we're going to get on to our show. First, we're going to try to discuss the weekly poll that my ballot is for the Football Writers Association National Football Foundation Super 16 poll, and I submit it every week by Sunday morning, and it comes out that day. So looking at my poll, I had Ohio State number 1, Indiana 2, Georgia 3, Texas A&M 4, Alabama 5, BYU 6, Oregon 7, Ole Miss 8, Vandy number 9, Georgia Tech number 10, Louisville number 11, Miami 12, Notre Dame 13, Missouri 14, Texas Tech 15, and Houston 16. The composite listing of the poll with the 56 voters, Ohio State was number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6, Ole Miss 7, Georgia Tech 8, Vandy 9, Miami 10, BYU 11, Notre Dame 12, Texas Tech 13, Tennessee 14, Louisville 15, and Virginia 16. So I had a little bit different in my poll, but I really have enjoyed this week to week, coming up with a list of the teams that were ranking 1 through 16 for the Football Writers Association, National Football Foundation Super 16 poll. Now I want to delve into a couple other things. We mentioned the coaching carousel. We're going to discuss that with our guest in segment 2, but that coaching carousel, something different in this era of football in the last 3-4 years with the transfer portal and the NIL. The competition at schools is very keen. We see the parity emerging on the landscape of college football. And the reason is because of that transfer portal and the NIL. Those are two facets of this era that where you can acquire talent year to year in massive numbers, not just a transfer from a JUCO or a transfer that had to sit out or a few of those, but you can change the personnel of your entire team in one season. And so when you're hiring these various coaches, it's not like before. You had less than A-list coaches, for instance, winning at LSU because there was the plethora of talent in the state of Louisiana and places like Florida. Not that there weren't great coaches there, but now I don't think the guarantees are there if you're coaching at LSU. And we saw that because Brian Kelly is a Hall of Fame coach before he arrived at LSU, winning at Grand Valley, Cincinnati, all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame. And here you are at Louisiana. And we mentioned it has all this talent within that state. And but he couldn't come up with a winning formula to satisfy the people of Louisiana. So I think it's a different scenario when you're trying to hire coaches, and because they must be able to be very good with their schemes, their personnel selection, their choice of assistant coaches, the way they run the organization, because it's, like I said, no longer can you just rely on strictly on the talent, because we've seen Florida floundering for years, and now LSU floundering. And those are two places in state universities, flagship universities, that have national championships in their past and multiple coaches as well. But this era of acquiring talent on a massive level from year to year, it's just different. So I would just preface these hirings by saying, make sure you believe in that person as a coach and administrator, because there's more to just being at a school that's had a winning tradition. The tradition alone will not get you a championship like maybe it has in the past, where you have an advantage because the talent, it flocks to your school naturally. So, and even like I said, a place like Florida, a place like LSU, two schools that have multiple championships from different coaches, more than one coach. We've seen it at a place like Indiana, for instance. A smart coach able to acquire talent and change the nature of the program in a couple of short years. They're already in the top 5 right now, sitting at number 2 in most polls. But the other thing I wanted to make mention of about this coaching carousel is the contract structure. Now, schools have the ability to pay players. They're trying to come up with that figure of $20.5 million for the entire athletic program. So are you able to guarantee these buyouts, these long-term buyouts, $50, $60, $70 million in the years, 5 to 10 years? I don't think that could happen anymore. I believe if I was an administrator, a director of athletics, I would cap that at 5 years at the moment. I wouldn't go beyond 5 years. And I'm just using my example. I'm guaranteeing the first 2 years at $10 million. So that's $20 million win, lose, or draw. You will be eligible to receive, even if we fire you. I don't care if it's the second game of the first season. you're going to be guaranteed that 20 million, which is still big money in this era, generational money, if you don't spend it all in one place. And then you roll it over each year. So after the first year, they're satisfied with your performance. Automatically, that's another 10 million in your coffer. So that's 30 million guaranteed. So I think that's reasonable because you're trying to balance the fact that something new in the equation, you're having to pay the players and come up with that money from your donors and supporters. So I think that's reasonable to approach a coach and an agent as well to make them understand. Now, there's some agents, they're going to bypass and say, I'm going to the next school. Well, I would say go ahead, because if you're in the SEC, for instance, there's plenty of money to pay a coach. And somebody's going to be willing to take $10 million per year for 2 years guaranteed because they have the confidence in themselves. They're going to last the 1 year. So that's an additional 10 years right off the bat. You're going to make 30 million. And I'm just using that as an example. So I don't think you can guarantee those years beyond two. I mean, that's the new formula that I would present to the president as the director of athletics, and also these agents. And they're going to be well compensated if they win. You could put some clauses in there, but you're going to make plenty of money at some of these schools, specifically the SEC, because they have a lot of money. Okay, we're going to be right back with segment 2. Our guest from Football Scoop, Zach Barnett, the national columnist. So we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, and a friend of the show, our very special guest, Zach Barnett, the national columnist for Football Scoop. Welcome to AP as we see it. Zach, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Zach, this is, I think, the special time of year for you. People get excited about Christmas, but I think you get excited when they have the coaching carousel. You can hear the music starting up. So I guess we'll delve right into that first thing. What's your assessment so far of this coaching carousel? And should some of those coaches remained?
I struggle. I've been covering this for a long time now. I struggle to think of a carousel that's been more active this early into the season, particularly with big names. This is the first time I can see when you have coaches or ADs putting out the dreaded vote of confidence, as we saw at Wisconsin and Florida State, because to explain why they haven't fired their coaches in October.
Right.
And then you have one coach in Auburn at Hugh Freeze kind of just begging his AD for a vote of confidence and not getting one. So it used to be
Yes.
when the vote of confidence would come, it would be a statement of, yeah, we're going to fire this guy. Just give us time. And now it's flipped to where we have to explain why we're not firing him, or we're begging for one to
Yes.
reassure people that we're not going to be fired.
Right. I hear you. Now, Zach, there's a number of openings. I think it's, 8 on the FBS level. How would you rank those if there's such a thing? And I have my own opinion, but I want to hear yours, though. How would you rank those openings?
So LSU is definitely number one. Ed Orgeron won a national championship there. Les Miles won a national championship there. Neither of those are A-level coaches. And
Yes.
LSU, I think, is you can make an argument it's the top job in the SEC. For one, Louisiana is a very dense recruiting market, and you have it all to yourself in terms of in-state Power 4 programs. And you don't recruiting in-state can be tricky sometimes because you kind of have to play defense because the recruit lives in your program 24/7. The out-of-state programs can come in and play offense. But in
Yes.
Louisiana, the coaches don't have to do that so much because the community puts a lot of pressure on these guys to be Tigers, and I think that's evident in the fact that not one kid is decommitted from LSU's class since Brian Kelly was fired on Sunday. In fact, they've gained commitments because those kids are coming to play for LSU, not for the head coach.
That's unusual in and of itself, Zach, because I think that disappeared playing for State U 25 years ago. But LSU, they still have those deep feelings within the state with the high school coaches and the players themselves and their families. I think that's something very special.
Yeah, and you look at Florida. Florida obviously puts out more talent than LSU, but you've got Florida State, Miami, Georgia, right there, Alabama, Auburn. Everyone in the country recruits Florida. Penn State, you've got to really go planes, trains, and automobiles to recruit. You got to recruit nationally if you're Penn State. LSU, you have
Yeah,
Louisiana to yourself. You have Houston 4
right,
hours to your west, Pensacola 4 hours to your east.
right. Bicycle recruiting, I call it, and those places. Yeah, just ride your bicycle some
Yeah, that's a good way
distance.
to put
Yeah.
it.
I like the other description you had as well with the three. Any candidates emerging that are strong right now for any schools, any of those 8 schools? I mean, SEC primarily, LSU, Florida, and Arkansas.
Yeah, obviously, the Lane Kiffin talk that you hear is real. The John Summerall talk that you hear is real. I think Pat Fitzgerald is working very hard to get back into coaching. I expect him to be back in coaching. I expect James Franklin to be back in coaching. The market right now is so competitive that I think you're going to see some accomplished coaches like a Jimbo Fisher with a national championship ring on his finger, potentially not get a job just because I've never seen the free agent class of coaches be this deep. Ed Orgeron once back in, and as of right now, I think that would have to be as an assistant.
Mm-hmm. Zach, how would you categorize Lane Kiffin? I mean, his best win, I believe, was Georgia last year at home by 18 points, 38-20. I think that was the final score. But his history, he's done some things at Ole Miss that are historical. But as far as the big wins against top teams, how would you, if someone didn't know about Lane Kiffin's record?
Yeah, I thought last year they kind of the whole was less than the sum of the parts. They had 8 draft picks. They had arguably the most talented defensive line in college football. Obviously, a very good college quarterback in Jackson Dart, and they proved it when they went out and hammered Georgia in a way that you don't ever see them get beat, losing 28-10. But then they turned around and they lost at home to Kentucky. They lost a game they couldn't lose at Florida. This season, they've been
Right.
able to avoid those pitfalls. They got a huge win at Oklahoma, lost close at Georgia. There's no sin in that. But if they could just avoid getting upset, they're 11-1 easily in the playoff, probably going to Atlanta. So I think this year's team is not as talented as last year's team. It may be better because I think Lane for the first time has done a better job of building a culture around this team.
Yeah, I had it in my mind 38-20, 28-10. That was, I know it was 18 points. I knew that was the deficit. But anyway, in the SEC, who's a good fit for Arkansas? A couple of candidates at Arkansas.
Oh, that's a good one. I think you need someone that I think the biggest challenge at Arkansas is someone to get the boosters to buy into. I think it's going to take some gravitas, a big name, someone, not saying this particularly, but someone with some skins on the wall like a Jimbo Fisher. Even though I don't expect them to hire him because he got fired at Texas A&M. But you need
Right.
someone. You can't. Being a good recruiter is not going to be enough to win at Arkansas. You got to go out recruit A&M, Oklahoma, Texas, Ole Miss, all those schools. So you need shortcuts. You need to really win in the portal, which means you're going to need to spend more than those programs in the portal. So I think someone that can rally that type of money, that has the respect of the money people in Arkansas, I think that's the path to victory more than say Eric Morris, who does a really good job of scoring points and evaluating the portal, finding the hidden gems. Hidden gems aren't going to win
Yes.
in the SEC at Arkansas. Future NFL players are.
Right. Yeah. The old equation was recruit Texas and Arkansas and some other states close by, and you can get a representative team to be competitive if you're at the University of Arkansas. But I think the way you describe it is the best, and that's the new formula. Does Florida have somebody specific the type of person that you need to be at that school, Zach?
I think for them, they've been trying to hire Steve Spurrier ever since he left. So I think their
Yeah,
search starts with Lane. I think if you put all your eggs in that basket and you make him say no once, twice, three times before you even think about moving on, because I think he connects so many of those boxes. Who's going to get the most out of DJ Lagway? Probably Lane Kiffin. Who's
right.
going to get the receivers? And you've got really good receivers. Um, so I think if I full court press for 48 minutes for Lane Kiffin if I'm running the search at Florida.
Yeah, he has a flamboyant personality that they liked in Steve Spurrier. He can joust with the best of them verbally, and he has national recognition. So yeah, he's probably one of the better fits for Florida. Would Lane Kiffin, would he fit at LSU? Do you think he fits at LSU and that Cajun culture and that LSU Louisiana culture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He agreed briefly to be the offensive coordinator at LSU a decade
Right,
ago.
right.
If
Ed
Lane Kiffin
Orgeron,
were,
yeah,
yeah,
with
and
Ed Orgeron, yeah.
I would not be surprised to see if Lane Kiffin takes the LSU job. I would not be surprised to see Ed Orgeron back at LSU in some sort of assistant head coach capacity. That would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, there'd be a Bobby Petrino at Arkansas type of thing. That resurfaces with the former head coach who had some success, and of course he's from
Yeah,
Louisiana. And yeah,
Ed doesn't have the management skills to be a head coach, but he's a very, very valuable. There isn't such a thing, but he's a Hall of Fame assistant, a Hall of Fame recruiter. Loves LSU. I think he'd take the job.
mhm. Hey Zach, quickly, the top 5 teams, regardless of the league, and then how about the top 5 quarterbacks in the conference, SEC? Last 2 minutes.
I'd go Ohio State. A&M probably has a better resume than them, but for me, Ohio State's number one until someone knocks them off. Then
Yes.
Indiana. Then you go the troika of the A&M. I'd put out in my ballot. I have out A&M, then Alabama, then Georgia. Same as everybody. Top 5 quarterbacks.
Right.
SEC. This is in no order, so please don't hold me to this. But Trinidad
Yes.
Chambliss, Ole Miss. Ty Simpson, Alabama. Marcel Reed, Texas A&M. You got to go Diego Pavia at Mizzou, or at Vanderbilt. Excuse me. There's 4. Number 5. Ooh.
Do you like Joey Aguilar? I mean, he puts up. He's pretty consistent with his numbers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gunnar Stockton though. I thought he outplayed him in that head-to-head in that game, and Joey
Yes,
Aguilar puts
he
up a
sure
lot of
did.
numbers. But that pick 6 he threw against Alabama sure was a backbreaker, wasn't it?
Oh, when you're playing the team on the road and the other team's slightly better, yeah, turnovers will damage your hopes for sure, for sure. Hey, Zach, how can people find you?
On Football Scoop, footballscoop.com pretty much all day, every day, and then on Twitter at Zach _Barnett.
Hey, Zach Barnett, national columnist, Football Scoop. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greer's.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we'd like to thank our guest, Zach Barnett, the national columnist from Football Scoop, and we appreciate his discussion about the coaching carousel and other teams in the SEC and quarterbacks in the SEC as well. We'd like to start this segment by mentioning the college football playoff, the sites for the next 4 years. They just made an announcement recently. Miami will be the championship site in 2026 of January, Las Vegas in 2027, New Orleans in 2028, and the newly announced 29 championship will be in Tampa, Florida. So those are all excellent locations. And matter of fact, I think we've been to all those before, covered championships in all of those cities, I think. Yeah, I believe we have. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with Super Bowls too, because I'm always at the Super Bowl as well. But anyway, those are the next sites: Miami, Las Vegas, New Orleans, and Tampa. Recently announced. So we'd like to start off with our SEC games for the week. We just have the 6 games. That's 12 teams that are involved. We do have the four byes. Alabama, LSU, which will face each other the following week in Tuscaloosa, and Missouri and Texas A&M, and Texas A&M will travel to Mizzou. Those 2 teams will face each other. So let's look at the first game. And I think last week we spoke about this with each team that were underdogs. We said they have to do something unusual. And here's Mississippi State, our first game. Mississippi State, they're traveling to Arkansas. Mississippi State is 4-4, 0-4 in the conference. They have yet to win a game facing Arkansas. Arkansas is 2-6 and 0-4 in the conference as well. Arkansas is favored by 3.5 points. But last week, Mississippi State played Texas in an overtime game of 45-38. Was winning the ball game in the fourth quarter by 17 points. So they did something very unusual. They scored a lot of points. They're beating the opponent who was the favorite, but they could not hold on to the lead. So this series between Mississippi State and Arkansas stands in Arkansas's favor: 19 wins, 15 losses, 1 tie. But Mississippi State, and I saw them play Tennessee to an overtime loss as well in Starkville. The fans were vociferous. They're excited about their team, giving great effort and playing against an opponent that was favored, but they came up short again. But Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby and company, they have improved this year, but they just can't find the way to finish these ball games. They're just having trouble completing the task. Whether it's turnovers, gave up that 79-yard punt return to Texas last week when they had the big lead. So that sparked the Longhorns. And I would think that people at Texas, they're not very happy at this point, specifically with their football team. They won last week against a Mississippi State team where they were favored, of course, and they just eked out that win in the fourth quarter, the overtime victory, actually. So Texas not happy. But anyhow, Mississippi State will travel to Arkansas. They're scoring 32 points a game. Plenty of points they're scoring, giving up 23. Arkansas, we know they can score points, 35. But Arkansas gives up 32 points a game. Last week, Arkansas at home had a big lead in the fourth quarter against Auburn and lost that game 33-24. So Arkansas, they can't hold on to a lead. They score plenty of points. Their fans are just starving for a win. And they thought they had one last week against the Auburn Tigers. That was their first victory in the conference. Arkansas, 490 yards of offense per week, 200 yards rushing, 285 yards passing, plenty of offense. Defense, 121st in the country, 435 yards per game. They're 123rd in turnovers, -1. So that's against them as well. They don't do anything defensively that can disrupt a team. And I'm going to mention that I mentioned that last week about Texas A&M. Their defense surrenders points, but they are disruptive at time with the sacks and the tackles for loss. So that can compensate to some degree. But at Arkansas, they just haven't found the formula. In the last 3 or 4 years, really, defensively, had plenty of offense over these last 3 or 4 years, but not the defense. So they struggle mightily on that end of the field. Mississippi State defensively, their total defense is 60th in the country. They give up 360 yards, 152 yards rushing, passing 208. So, but they give up quite a few points, as I say. Taylon Green, the quarterback from Arkansas, over 2,700 yards, 600 yards rushing. Okay. He has 18 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, 603 yards rushing. As I mentioned, 6.7 yards average. He's a one-man show on that side of the ball. Blake Shapen, he's thrown for 1,900 yards, 13 TDs, 5 interceptions, 60%. But they just can't seem to play complementary football. So that's the Mississippi State-Arkansas game. Arkansas is favored at home. I would suppose they might win. Game 2, we're going to move to Kentucky, 2-5, 0-5, winless in the conference as well, to play at Auburn. Auburn's 4-4, Auburn 1-4 with their first victory last week over Arkansas, 33-24. Kentucky lost to Tennessee, 56-34. That series stands in Auburn's favor, 28-6-1. Kentucky's offense, 24 points a game, put up 34 last week, but gave up 56. They both scored 24 points a game, Auburn and Kentucky. Kentucky's defense, 91st in the country. Their offense, 91st in the country, 361 yards. Auburn is 105 offensively, 340. It's 170 and 170 with the run and the pass for Auburn. Defensively, Kentucky's 88th in the country, 384 yards a game. They're 112th in passing, 253 yards, but Auburn's not that good throwing the ball. So I don't think that really matters at this point. Auburn's defense plays well. Only allow 84 yards rushing, which is 5th in the country, 91st in passing, 234. Kentucky's not particularly a good passing team, 318 yards per game, 29th in the country defensively for Auburn. So they have the one side of the ball figured out, but not the other. The other thing about Auburn, they're 13th in the country, 0.88 with the turnover. So that's a good number for them. Sacks, they're 18th in the country. Tackles for loss, 10th in the country. So they have some good numbers on that side. Kentucky, 107 in the sacks, 102 in the tackles for loss. Kentucky gives up 30 points a game. Auburn only 18. Now, Cutter Boley, the quarterback, the fairly young quarterback for Kentucky, homegrown, native of the Bluegrass State, 66%, 1,200 yards, 9 TDs, 5 interceptions. Jackson Arnold, they had a replacement for him last week at the end of the game last quarter. Ashton Daniels, a transfer from Stanford. He threw for eight passes, 6 completed, 75%, 77 yards, led them to a victory. Jackson Arnold, 1,200 yards, 63%, only 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So Auburn has just not been able to get things going. Hugh Freeze and company on that side of the ball. And it's been quite disappointing because there is some talent, but they just haven't been able to scheme or get their players to produce offensively. And it's really hampered the one-loss column from them. Like I said, only the one victory in the conference, and that was on the road last week in Fayetteville. Auburn is a 4.5-point favorite for this ball game. So they have a chance to beat Kentucky and come up with their 5th win. And they'll probably, if they win against Kentucky, they'll probably be bowl eligible because they have I think it's an FCS opponent on the schedule as well. Let's go to our third game, big game in Jacksonville, Florida, the annual rivalry between Florida and Georgia. I think that game's going to be played in Atlanta and Tampa the next 2 years. So for those interested in watching that game in Jacksonville, I'll tell you to head on over there. They're both coming off byes. Georgia leads this series 56-44-2. Georgia is a 7.5-point favorite. We know that Florida has the interim coach, Billy Gonzalez. Florida scores 22 points a game, not very good. Georgia's 33 points. They score per game. They have a good defense, 37th in the country. Florida is 90th. DJ Lagway, he's struggled this year, 9 TDs, 9 interceptions. So that's one reason Florida's sitting at 3-4 and just 2 wins in the conference, 2-2. Georgia 6-1, 4-1 in the conference. So Gunnar Stockton, he's played very well, 70%, 1,500 yards, 10 TDs, only 1 interception. That's outstanding because he's played in some pressure games and done very well. They have the one loss at home against Alabama, but Georgia, in my opinion, is still the team to beat in this conference because they know how to win various ways, low scoring, high scoring, usually play fairly good defense. I mean, and that's relative in this era. They've given up some big points against Tennessee and Alabama as well. But Georgia's a team with Gunnar Stockton at the helm, knows how to win. They're more balanced this year. Last year, they couldn't run the ball. They're 190 yards rushing, 34th in the country, passing 237 yards, and like I said, 428 yards total offense. So Georgia and Florida with their annual rivalry should be a pretty good ball game, but Florida is going to be hampered because you have an interim coach and things are kind of disarray. They're looking to hire somebody. So, but you're playing your rival, and a lot of times you know these players from high school. Maybe they're some of your teammates. You played in the same state, the same county, same city. So it'd probably be a competitive game. Georgia's a 7.5-point favorite at this point. So we're going to be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we'd like to make mention of our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, 109 years. They've been serving the Gulf Coast and beyond. They have Lucy's famous recipes online in her book you can purchase at the store and also online. And remember, family, friends, and football is a winning tradition at Greer's. Game day starts at Greer's. You can score big savings on fresh meats, produce, and more for your game day spreads. Check out the Groceries to Go, which will deliver to your home, your office, or the venue of your choice. Remember, apples for students. You can receive free supplies for your school if you bring your receipts to the desk and enroll your school. They have the coloring contest for the children. That's always fun. Check the online ads for weekly specials as well. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We'd like to make mention of Robertsdale Dental Care. Dr. Jason Northcutt. Contact them at 251-947-3636. Not only are basic services offered by Dr. Jason Northcutt, but he has developed a niche within the practice, providing comprehensive dental implant services such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Jason Northcutt has been highly trained in these disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems. Come by to see Dr. Jason Northcutt and staff, 251-947-3636. And we also like to mention our favorite hotel in Atlanta, the Cortland Grand Hotel with the spacious rooms. They have the indoor pool with the serene tropical setting right in the downtown heart of Atlanta. The restaurants and gifts shop are on site. They have an outstanding breakfast, which is a cook to order on the weekends, and there's a lounge as well. Great location. Ben Giacomo and staff do a terrific job with all their hospitality, and parking's available as well. So check out the Cortland Grand Hotel in downtown, the heart of Atlanta. So we'd just like to continue with our ball games here. We're going to look at game number 4, and I keep saying about these spectacular efforts that are made by some of these teams. Of case in point is South Carolina. South Carolina, 3-5, 1-5 in the conference. They took Alabama to the wire, had a lead on them in the fourth quarter, ended up losing 29-22, but it was a great ball game, terrific competition. Alabama showed the resiliency to come back. They were at South Carolina, and I always tell people those are the best fans I've ever been around the entire state, because they show up for their team, South Carolina, and Clemson, win, lose, or draw, but they're very loud and rabid fans. But Alabama survived and moved on. They're facing Ole Miss in Oxford. Ole Miss is 7-1, 4-1 in the conference. Ole Miss went on the road with an impressive victory, 34-26 against the Sooners in Norman, Oklahoma. Ole Miss is a 12.5-point favorite. And I just want to step back for a minute on this Oklahoma Ole Miss game last week. Oklahoma has one of the best defenses in the country. I think it was listed number 1. But I'm not buying those numbers, though, because they gave up 34 points at home to Ole Miss. So I think they're slightly deceiving when I've been reading. I always read the numbers because I think it gives people an indication of some of the strengths and weaknesses of each team. And that's the reason that we bring this to our audience each week. But I think those numbers with Oklahoma is really not reflective of this total picture and analysis of their defense, because they gave up 34 points at home to Ole Miss. So I just am cautious when I give these numbers. You can't always believe everything, because some of these numbers are inflated due to the inferior opponents they played in the past. So, but anyway, this series is in Ole Miss's favor. They've only played 18 times, 10 wins for Ole Miss, 8 losses against South Carolina. South Carolina, like I said, they struggled on offense, but they scored the 22 against Alabama. And they played fairly good defense to hold them to 29, because Alabama just averages over 30. So South Carolina scores 20. Ole Miss scores 37 points a game. So once again, they're facing a team that scores 30-something points a game. They're going to have to come up with a supreme effort. And a lot of times in these ball games, and we know in the South Carolina-Alabama game, there was a late fumble. They really had Alabama on the ropes. But they had the turnover by the quarterback, Lenore Sellers, in the pile up, and Alabama was able to gain possession and move down the field to score the winning touchdown. So the total offense for South Carolina, like I said, is 125th in the country, only 302 yards per game. Ole Miss, on the other hand, 484 yards. They're 10th in the country. So if you want to win this ball game, no turnovers. Your kickoff, your field goal kicker must make all the attempts within reason. If I say 45 yards from within, that's my standard that I use, like 45 yards. You have to make all those kicks. You have to keep the ball away from the other team's offense, maybe rushing the ball, keeping the clock moving, and be good on third downs. But it takes a superior effort by your team when you're a double-digit favorite, you're on the road, the other team's scoring 37 points a game, you're managing 20 points per game. Right now, South Carolina is only surrendering 21 points a game, Ole Miss 23. So they have a chance, but Lenore Sellers is the quarterback. He's a very good talent, but the turnovers made that difference last week in the ball game, especially in the fourth quarter with that fumble. So Ole Miss is a team looking to be in the playoffs. They're 7-1 right now. Lane Kiffin, I think this is his 6th year. He's won 10 wins or more 3 times. I think this will be his 4th time, because I believe he's going to win 10 games minimum this year with the remaining schedule. If we have a chance to just take a peek at that very quickly. Ole Miss, they play South Carolina at home. The Citadel, that should be a win. They host Florida at home. That should be a win. And then they're in Starkville against Mississippi State. We know that's the Egg Bowl. That's quite a battle. So they're on their way to winning 10 games again for the 4th time under Lane Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin, right now, his best win is that against Georgia last year, 28-10, won by 18 points. He's won. He's 5-6 against the top 10 teams at Ole Miss, which is a pretty good record. So all these people are looking to hire Lane Kiffin to be at their school. You have to look at how you play against the top talent. And he's done fairly well at Ole Miss with that type of record, beating the top 10 teams. But anyhow, Ole Miss is a 12.5-point favorite. And they probably win this game against South Carolina, I would believe. That Trinidad Shambliss, he's been sensational for them. The Division II Ferris State transfer, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,800 yards, 61%. He's been outstanding. Lenore Sellers, 1,300 yards, only 6 TDs, 3 interceptions, 63%. So he's got to play a great ball game, and he must have the support as well. Let's move on to the next game. We have Oklahoma, which we mentioned, lost to Ole Miss 34-26 at home, 6-2, 2-1 in the conference. They're playing Tennessee. Oklahoma leads this series 3-2. Tennessee 6-2, 3-2 in the conference, 3.5-point favorite. They had the big win in Lexington over Kentucky. They scored 56 points with Joey Aguilar and company, 56-34. Tennessee averaging 45 points a game, 510 yards of offense, 3rd in the country. Oklahoma 28 points a game. 77th in offense, 376 yards. Like I say, their total defense is 6th in the country, but I think it's deceiving. Tennessee, 99 in the country, 401 yards they surrender. But Tennessee's disruptive. They're 6th in sacks, 6th in tackles for loss, and they're .50, a positive. That's 39th in the country in the turnover category. Oklahoma, number 2 in sacks, number 1 in tackles for loss with 11, 117th in the turnover category, minus .75. So Oklahoma only surrenders 12 points a game. When we saw it, they gave up 34 at home last week to Ole Miss. So I think Tennessee is one of those teams that's going to score a lot of points against Oklahoma, against that vaunted Oklahoma defense. Tennessee, they give up 30 points a game, but they have enough offense to compete. They have 6 wins so far. So John Mateer, the Washington State transfer, 63%, 1,790 yards, almost 1,800. Only 8 TDs, though, and 6 interceptions. Joey Aguilar, been sensational, I think. 2,344 yards, 18 touchdowns. He throws some interceptions, 6 interceptions, 66%. But I think that Tennessee is going to be able to win this ball game at home in Knoxville. They're trying to compete for the college football playoff, and so is Oklahoma. They both have the 2 losses right now in the conference. The last game on the schedule, Vanderbilt. That's what I said. Vanderbilt, 7-1, 3-1 in the conference. Playing Texas, 6-2, 3-1 in the conference. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. We think that Arch Manning is going to come back from the concussion protocol. Matthew Caldwell, Detroit transfer, went in and threw the winning touchdown in overtime to beat Mississippi State. Vanderbilt averaging 38 points a game, surrendering 18. Texas averaging 29 points again. Once again, averaging 14 points a game on defense. I think it's misleading. They gave up 38 last week to Tennessee and Starkville. So those numbers are misleading. But Texas and their fan base, if they lose to Vanderbilt, in their mind, they're not going to be happy, because Vanderbilt is a new era of football with Clark Lee and Diego Pavia. 1,698 yards, 68%, 15 TDs, 5 interceptions. Arch Manning, 15 TDs, 6 interceptions, 1,795 yards, 61%. Should be a very competitive ball game. Begins early in the day, and that's our 6 games in the SEC. So we hope you enjoyed another episode of AP As We See It, and we shall be back next week with another episode of AP As We See It. Thank you very much for listening, and subscribe to our social media platforms. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.